Hi there, and welcome to a new episode of Miss Evil Knits on Creativity. And this is episode 9. Episode 9 out of 10 episodes. So that's why I think it's time to reflect. Reflect on what I have achieved so far. Reflect on where I am right now and how I have developed, and to gaze into the future a little bit and see what will happen there. I will also give you some behind the scene, and in the end I have a special treat for you. So if you want to follow me on this walk in a wintry Sweden, sit down, have something nice to drink, bring your knitting, and just relax for a while. And maybe you can reflect as well. It's about 6 months since I recorded the first, or actually episode 0 of this series of on creativity. And by that time, it was in the beginning of the summer. It was all green. And now it's -degrees and we've gotten some snow. And by then, I had, or actually, about this time last year, I decided, or I recorded the last episode of my Swedish podcast. Actually, I recorded it on New Year's Eve and then also published it on New Year's Eve. And there I announced that that was the last episode, and that I should take a break, think about what I want to do after that. And during the spring, I thought about this. And after a lot of thinking, I came up with the idea to make this like a series of 10 episodes that are focusing on the creativity process. And as I said, in June this year, I started recording. And so far, except from this introduction episode, that, yeah, if you have watched it, you know that from the beginning, it was like me jumping like this. Something happened with the video file when I uploaded it, and especially when I saved it. And now it's still jumping, but only in like the last 10 or 15 minutes. So I have decided not to edit that one again. But except from that one, I have recorded and published 8 episodes. And I actually had to write it down, what those episodes has been about. So I thought that we should just look back a little bit. Episode 1 and 2, they were focusing on who am I as a knitter. The first one I had on this blackboard written up how to analyze and reflect on who you are as a knitter from why do you knit. And in the episode 2, I talked about how do I knit. And from that, be able to actually reflect on who am I as a knitter. And I think that's important just to know that if you are going to start a journey, you need to know where you're actually starting from. Because otherwise it's very hard to evaluate if you have developed, if you don't know where you developed from. In episode 3, I talked about inspiration and how you can find inspiration, where you can find inspiration. I looked into some books, I looked into colors and other things. And I think it was in that episode I showed this kind of capelet that I call Bergtagen. And I've got a lot of positive feedback on that one. In episode 4, we looked into different sweater construction. And I got a lot of positive feedback for making that video. And I think it's important to understand the different construction, like the basic constructions, to be able to actually understand a pattern if you're knitting from a written pattern. Episode 5 was an episode that I have decided, almost one of the first episodes that I decided that I would make. And that was doing the math. And that is also something that I have experienced a little bit by myself, but also read in different knitting communities that many people, knitters, they feel they're a little bit afraid to actually be having to do the math on their own. They want someone else to tell them exactly how they should count, and especially when it comes to increase and decrease. So I thought that I should make a video where I give some basic tools to be able to do that on your own and be a little bit more confident. Episode 6 was the first part in my design process. That was the episode when I was also out on a walk and try to get inspiration and analyze what I need. I wanted to make a collection for outdoor activities, walking, hiking, taking breaks, camping. And I want to analyze what I actually need, what the garment what the requirements are from the different specific garments. And I must say that that was for me, maybe not a life-changing episode, but I really liked making that one. And it also got me thinking a lot. And from your comments, I also understand that you have started thinking how you can make the garments that you really need. Then we come to episode 7, and I think that was the most fun episode to record, because that was the episode where I talked about knowing your fiber. And for making a garment, I think that is one of the most important parts of when it comes to knowledge. I showed you there the different fibers, or different fibers from different breeds, and how they look and feel. And that is, wool is not just wool, it's so much more. And I also showed you how wool and other fibers react to fire, and that was the fun part. And I must say that I I was actually quite surprised that the synthetic fiber was actually that flammable. Maybe not immediately that it caught fire, but when it started to burn, it really burned like a torch. So I think that is something that is very good to understand, how your fiber is behaving when it comes in contact with different elements. And then we come to episode number 8. And that was the second part of my design process. And there is where I showed you my collection that I have started knitting. And as you probably saw, I have been casting on like a madwoman, a maniac, just to have as much as possible to show you. And the collection that I wanted to make, I called Vandring, like hiking or walking, vandring. And I must say that process, it was, I felt like I got a better purpose for my knitting, to really get the right focus. And now, this is episode number 9. And then we have episode number 10, where I'm going to explain to you and inspire you to knit the slipover Huldra. And that's the 10 episodes. And I must say that I am very proud over what I have done. That I have been able to have this kind of coherent line through it all. The thing that I decided on, the idea I had from the beginning, that I was actually able to go through with it, to make it real, to make it happen. So I'm very proud of it. And I think actually it became better than I was hoping for, because I only have those resources when it comes to time and equipment that I have, and from that, I'm very proud. And I'm very proud of you as well, both for following me and also for not asking a lot of questions. Because that was my biggest fear when I decided on making this on creativity. Because I am not doing the ordinary podcasting. I'm not doing the ordinary kind of recipes or patterns. I am giving you a lot of things to think about so that you can find your own answers. And I must say that, I'm very happy that you have not required more out of me, but have been able to process the information I give and actually use it for your need. I'm also very happy that I made it in English, because that means that I have gotten a lot of new knitting friends from different parts of the world. And I'm very happy that I did that. So I think that looking back, I can only look back with pride. I have also provided you with 2 bonus episodes, one about socks and one about mittens. and I have published my recipes for the Kura sock and for the Vila mitten. And some of you have probably seen those recipes before, especially if you are hanging around Hönor och Eyr and is a patron by them. But I have also had it up on YouTube by the Vila mitten during February this year. But I wanted you to be able to use and learn from those recipes, and that is because I wanted you to have some smaller project to kind of test and develop your creativity on those projects. Because I see both the Kura sock and the Vila mitten as kind of canvases that you have a basic construction, and then you can play around and be as creative as you want with them. By you are able to use any kind of yarn, you can knit it for anyone, any size, and just play around and be creative. And having a little bit smaller project, it can also help you to build your confidence in actually it. It's not a big project. It doesn't matter if it doesn't become exactly what you wanted, but you can learn from it and develop. So that's why I wanted you to be able to learn how to knit the Kura sock and the Vila mitten. And in the bonus episodes, I explain why I only have those available for a limited time. And that is because it's not an ordinary pattern that you can buy. This is something that you have to put some effort into it. And those recipes and my on creativity episodes, I feel like they are a part of me actually doing something that I believe in, going my own way, trusting myself, and just go for it. So now I'm planning on taking you a little bit behind the scenes on how to create a pattern. Enjoy! A part of doing my own thing, going my own way, and believing in it is the way that I have chose to create patterns, to design and make the recipes. So here I thought that I should take you a little bit behind the scenes of creating a pattern. Because I think most of us are seeing the pattern, but maybe haven't reflected that much on the process from an idea to actually becoming some kind of description of this design. I have published in my video format 3 designs. It's been the Edo Stripes sock that is only in Swedish. Then I have the Vila, the mittens. And then I have my Kura socks. So all of these, my 3, I call it patterns or recipes, they all started with an idea. The idea have been different depending on the design. The idea for the Evil Stripes was that I was making a few video tutorials on kind of cast on, bind off, increases, decreases, and those different kind of things. And I wanted to make this tutorial video, where I combine a lot of these different techniques, and by practicing the technique, you will actually get a garment. So that was the thought, the idea behind the sock, that I wanted to combine this, how to make a toe-up sock, how to do stranded work, how to do short rows, how to make a Latvian braid, how to make bubbles, and a bind off. So that became a sock. The sock itself is not any revolutionary idea, but that was the thought behind this one, or the idea. The idea behind the other sock was actually a request to make this sock, but in English. But I thought that, no, I cannot just duplicate and make it in English instead. I have to evolve a little bit to make it, to make something else, something more out of it. So the idea behind this one was to make it in Nutiden and then try to make it with leftovers and have to mix 2 or 3 different heels, to mix the texture, to create this recipe so you can make a perfect fitting sock. So that was the thought, the idea behind it, to have that perfect sock for your foot and your preferences. Like a pure recipe to make any sock that you want. And the idea behind the mittens, it was, if you have watched the videos for this, the Vila mitten, it's about, I don't like knitting thumbs. Because if I have an ordinary mitten, you start here and then you knit the mitten and then you have to pick up the thumb. And I have so many mittens without thumbs lying around. So I wanted to make a design that I want to knit that starts with a thumb. So that was the idea behind this one. And when I get an idea, then you have to test and test and test and try it out to get some kind of design, to get a garment. Because that doesn't come when you try it the first time. So trying out different methods, different techniques and materials and all these things until you feel like, okay, now I have what I want. And that can take a long time. I would say that the idea of making the perfect mitten, it took a long time, because it took some time before I started like knitting the thumb first, because I was knitting different kind of gussets and so on. So it took some time before I started doing it in the opposite direction. The same as socks. It took some time before I found the perfect heel that works with a toe-up construction. So it's not that I just get the perfect idea and test it. It's like going back and forth, get an idea, test it, come up with new idea, test it, new idea, test it. So very iterative process. But when I have come up with, okay, this is what I want, when I made that decision, then I have to go to step number 2, and that is, okay, how can I explain this? And even if I have the most clever construction, it's not maybe always that I record or publish in the recipe, because I see that, okay, that would be very difficult to explain. So I have to look into, how can I explain this? How can I make someone else understand what I am thinking and be able to recreate that? How do I... how do I have chosen for my designs I will not kind of grade it with size. I want to make one design that you can make in any yarn for any size. It's just like you measure on yourself as it goes, because it's toe up and top down constructions. So that is a choice that I make just to be able to, don't have to kind of grade the designs, the garments. But that is also, it's easier in one way, but it's more difficult in another way, because then I have to get or come up with how should I explain that. For example, when it comes to the sock, how should I explain how long you should knit before you start with the heel, or increasing for the gusset for the heel, or start doing the short rows. So, and then I have to understand that when it comes to these different sizes and different shapes of feet and shapes of hands, that, okay, if I can explain it and understand it when it comes to my foot, does my feet looks the same as everyone else's feet? And there's also the, how should I explain this? And maybe also here in this step, even if I have come up with a design that I want to make a pattern or make a description, maybe I have to change my mind and make new decisions, just because that idea or that design is not that simple or easy to explain, and I cannot guarantee that you will get the same result. So I see that this is a very important step, and I put a lot of effort in it. So when I am knitting, when I'm in the end of actually having the prototype, I am thinking about, how can I explain this in a good way? And I also have the philosophy that you should be able to adapt the pattern depending on your preferences. So it has to be, I have to know when you should do as I say, or when you can actually freebase a little bit more. But when I know that, okay, this is how I have to explain it, or want to explain it, or can explain it, then I choose what media should I publish the pattern in. And so far, I have chosen to make it in a video format and as a kind of tutorial format, where I show and talk and explain why you're doing things and how you're doing it. So that has been that kind of video and format that I am publishing it in. And if you're writing and you choose a written format, then you have to think about, okay, how can I do it? How should I how should I explain it with words? And should I have pictures in? Should I have links to a video to show different techniques and so on? So thinking about the media, I have chosen the video format just because I want to explain with video and talking. Because I think, and what I want from a pattern is I want to understand why I am doing this. Because if I understand why I'm doing things, then I can also modify it in a different way. Because I understand what I can modify and what I cannot modify if I want to get a good result. It's not that I find it difficult to express myself with text. It's more like and it also has to do with the idea. From the idea that I have, I found that this video tutorial or video recipe is serving me best. Then I have been knitting prototypes, but the closer I get, I have to decide on what kind of yarn do I want to have, like the final model or the final version in. What colors should I have? And depending on what kind of media I'm using, I have to think about what colors does actually show in the video, show in pictures. And it also is connected to the feeling that I want to kind of achieve. So the colors I choose, it should be that there is, for example, on this one, you need to be a contrast. If I should have made this with two colors that is not giving any contrast, it would be very difficult to see what is actually going on. And in a video, trying to explain when you cannot really see the result. And here it was very, the yarn I wanted to have kind of typical sock yarn that was easy to find. And I wanted to have a nice contrast without having this crisp white and really black. I wanted to have something else, but that gives a nice contrast. And also adding a third color. If I had chosen to make this in a variated or speckled yarn, then it would be also very difficult to see what is actually going on. If I have chosen to make any of these in a very dark yarn, actually the first idea I had for these was to make it in a korp with a dark blue color. But when I started recording, filming it was too dark, especially since I was recording it during the winter. So I thought that, no, I cannot do that. I have to rethink. So the colors is important, I see, not only for kind of the expression and the feeling, but also for the media that you have chosen. So you can photograph it, so you can show it in a video, and the viewer or you are actually understanding what's going on. And then it comes to the name. And I think to actually getting the feeling, because somehow when I when I publish a pattern or create a design, I want to kind of transmit, or we call it förmedla, give a feeling. And of course, the yarn, the color is an important part of it, but somehow all this has to be boiled down into this name of it that actually expresses the feeling behind it. And kura, snuggle, having these, and if you feel like this kura or snuggle, then you get this kind of feeling that you want to, when I put on these socks, it should be a warm, cozy feeling. Vila, that also have to do with, it should be this kind of delightful, simple, enjoying feeling, both wearing them, but also knitting them. And the evil stripes, it's not ordinary stripes, they're evil stripes. But the names, I think, is also important. And for example, the Vila mittens, I had different names for them before I actually decided on, okay, this is Vila. So you had to kind of taste the names. And that kind of also set the feeling for the kura sock, because I wanted them to kind of belong together in a way. So we'll see if I make something else, what the name would be of that. But some kind of having this feeling that I want to, I don't get the word, förmedla, transmit, or give you the same feeling that I feel connected to this. And then it's time to start recording or writing. But for me, it's been recording. And in the process of thinking, how can I explain this? I have also thinking about, okay, how should I divide the video or the kind of tutorial to make it as clear and understandable as possible for the person actually viewing it. So when it comes to all of these, I have chosen to make it in different episodes or the parts where I have in these, I have started with an introduction where I explain everything, so you understand what is going to happen in the next episodes. And that is also what I like in a written pattern, that somewhere you explain what is going to happen. So I understand what then the different part of the description of the pattern, how they are relating to each other and how they are actually contributing to the final result. And the first things, you can do that more or less anywhere. Okay, knitting and testing, I need to have needles and yarn in my hand. But most of the other thing is thinking. And I can come up with idea more or less anywhere I am. But when I decide that now it's time to record, then I have to have the time to do that. And the best way to do that during a weekend. So I can do it at the same time and not doing that, but now and then during a longer period. So I want to take the time to actually record it at the same time. But since it takes some time to knit, it's not that when I'm recording this, it's just sit here and talk. But when I'm knitting a mitten or a sock, it will take some time. And what I have chosen to do for all these, if you write a pattern, then you can knit the garment, you can photograph it, and then you can just write it. But if I video record it, I have chosen to knit one mitten. And then during the recording, I knit the other one. So that has been kind of my way of be able to show, okay, this is the final result, and then show step by step how the other mitten is created. And that's easy to do that way when you have a pair of something. But for example, if I should make something, a hat or a sweater or something else, then it's a little bit more difficult. And then you can have to come up with the idea, how do I kind of record and edit it so it's actually understandable? Also, when you're recording, you have to have the settings to give this feeling around. And when I recorded the Kura sock, I know that, especially from recording this one, is when I'm knitting, you will hear the cable hitting the table all the time, and I think that that's quite annoying noise, but it's hard to avoid. So when I was recording these socks, I thought that, okay, I should put some kind of blanket on the table so you don't hear it all the time. And I didn't have, and since I was in a little bit time pressure to put this, and I had this weekend, I should do it. And I didn't really have anything good to put on the table. I just had a red kind of blanket. And I started to record. It was also very poor. It was also during the winter, and it was poor light. It was heavy raining outside and so on. And when I looked at the video, it's too red. It's horrible. No, I cannot have it in this way. So I don't want to redo it again. I don't have the time. So I actually decided to have that video in black and white. And I'm very happy that I did that, because since one design part of the Kura socks, when I recorded or designed it, it was to be able to use leftovers, and also these, if you are familiar with Nutiden, sometimes they have these Lucky Charms, where you have a yarn that starts in one color and then have a transition over to another color, to be able to use these. And then I didn't want to show how I did it, because I didn't want to frame the viewers. So I think by having it in black and white, it's easier to see and to focus on the construction instead of focusing on my choice of colors. So even if I had to do it for kind of saving the video, I think that the result became better. So those are the issues when it comes to recording. And another issue with recording is how to place the camera. When I did, I think all of these, I record with a telephone and had it in some kind of tripod in front of me. And then I have to look through the screen and try to knit, and then look a little bit aside, because then I see it clearer, but I cannot knit out of the picture. And it's a little bit difficult to have all these settings because you have this kind of tripod in front of you and then you try to knit around it. So it's a little bit, you have to kind of fix the settings. So have a blanket or something like that, to have the good light, to have the camera fixed. Yeah, there are some kind of issues to do it. And sometimes I actually feel like I do it later. I do the recording later because I don't feel really in the mood, because you have to be in the mood as well to be able to explain and do it in a good way. You cannot be stressed or frustrated or sad or too happy or too tired. The good thing with making this kind of tutorial where you only see my hands is that, okay, I don't have to care anything about how I look, how I have my hair, or what kind of clothes I wear. So that's a good part. I don't care that much. Sorry. Even when I record these things, I never put makeup on and those kind of things. So recording it and then doing the editing. And also when it comes to editing, I also want to kind of give a feeling, set the feeling or around it. I'm quite happy actually with the Kura-sock. The start and the end of the video and those kind of things. It's kind of to make it a little bit coherent so that the video, how it's edited, it reflects the sock and the feeling I want to förmedla. I don't get that word. Yeah, I will probably put it in Google Translate after this, and then we will see. And I will say, damn it, I know that word. Never mind. And then, when I'm done with, recorded it, edited it, taking a lot of picture of those things, then it's time to publish and to choose where to publish it. If you have a written pattern, many publish it on Ravelry. I haven't done that. Yes, I actually have put a document with the links to this one on Ravelry, so you can find it there. But otherwise, I haven't published it. You have to decide on, should this be a free pattern or should it should you have to pay for it? I have chosen to publish it on YouTube. And I choose to make it a free pattern, mostly because I don't want this I see here, the support. I want to be able to say that, okay, this is what you get, but you don't get anything more. You cannot ask me for pattern support. And if something is wrong, yeah, take it and do whatever you want with it, as long as you are not copying it. But you cannot request more from me. And that's why I choose to have it a free pattern. But if I had chosen to make it a pay pattern, a pattern you pay for, then it would have been a different way of kind of promoting it. And I think that I have got many questions. Oh, will you make that a pattern? Or please, can't you make that a pattern? And yes, I would pay for it. But I think that if I should make something and I would say that, okay, you have to pay for it, I see that the time that I put on doing all these things, I have to get a lot of paying customers to actually weigh up for that. because I don't think that many would buy the pattern. And then I see that since I have no intention of making this, that I would live on this, to make it as a designer, then I see it's better for me to get it as a free pattern. I do it for me, for develop, to try out things. And then you cannot request anything more from me. I don't put up a deadline or something like that. I do it because I want it. And when I don't want it anymore, then I don't do it anymore. So that is kind of the decision I have made when it comes to paying or giving it for free. I also see that what I'm doing is not really competing with someone else, because I think that those that are good designers that sell their patterns, they should be able to make a living of that. So I'm not competing with someone who is actually needing the income. And then you have to promote yourself in some way, because if I have done all this work, I want you to find it and try it out and see if it's something for you. And that also takes a lot of time to plan it and to take all these pictures and publish and kind of have an idea how to publish it, where to publish it, and so on. So this is kind of behind the scene, behind the Cura sock and the Vila Mitten and the Evil Stripes. And what you see here is a little bit behind the scene, what is actually going to be the tutorial or the recipe for this huldra, the huldra slipover with the hood. And this is my first prototype. You've seen it sometimes before. And I have done, 1 to 4. So I am ready now to actually start recording. So I've done much of the thinking and test and the testing. I have come up with, okay, this is how I want to make it. But I haven't knitted the final version, the final prototype, or what you should call it, because that is the one that I will knit during the recording. So that will be a really bit interesting to do that. So I have, it will not be the disposition, kind of, the format of the video will not be the same as for my previous. So I will have to do it in a little bit different ways. I have also earlier announced that it will be not that detailed on exactly what you should do and how you should do it. I want deliberately that you should use your own creativity and use those previous episodes to actually make your own huldra and have to think a little bit and most of all be brave to have the courage to make decisions and to try to understand what will that decision, how would that affect the rest of the construction. And it's a little bit larger garment. But I think that you will be able to make it, no doubt. And I should just manage to record it in a good way and edit it in a good way. But I have a plan. I just hope to get the time, to have the time to record it and have the settings and all these things for that And I also have to choose the color for it. And I haven't done the final choice yet. So we will see what will happen. But I will not talk anything more about that. In that episode, episode number 10, you will have all the information. And it will be just one episode. If I manage to make it, I don't know how long episodes you can make and still upload it. I know it can be a little bit difficult if you make very long episodes. So the plan is one episode, but maybe it has to be divided up in 2 parts. So we'll see. Yeah, that was about creating a pattern, doing your own thing, and believe in that. That was looking back, looking at the past, what I have achieved. So now I thought that I should just reflect a little bit on how I feel that I have developed during the last 6 months, or maybe during the last year. And I feel that I have developed both as a podcaster and also as a knitter. And the main thing as a podcaster that I feel that I have developed, it is, of course, doing it in English. It's challenging. I feel that I have to be in the right mood to have a flow in the language and to find the words, because I speak Swedish on a daily basis. Or that's what I speak. I don't speak English on a daily basis, so I have kind of to get in the right mood. And you can probably hear that in some episodes that I don't really get the flow. So the language is one thing that I have developed. And also by this having a theme and making a plan, making this kind of a coherent it's like producing something that you are actually deciding what you want to show and talk about, and not just do it from episode to episode. So that's the difference in how I have been working before, and that is how I like to do that. I really enjoy having that kind of. I don't say that I'm in control or something, but I have a plan, and it's giving me more satisfaction, and it's developing me as a podcaster. And the third thing, it is filming outdoors. I try to do that a little bit in my Swedish podcast, the first one I have, but especially in the last episode, I did most of it outdoors until it was too dark, so I couldn't film anymore. But I felt that it was difficult because I brought a tripod, and then I had to find somewhere to place that tripod and somewhere to sit and mix that and not be around other people. So it took a lot of time. But now I realized I can just hold the camera in my hand. And then it's so much easier. Of course, I get a little bit tired in my arm if I stand like this for a longer time, but it makes me able to film outdoors. And I think that is also development that I really enjoy. And it also makes me go outdoor more often. And this is here. It's here I want to be. This is This is the environment where I want my knitted garment to be. So that is how I feel like I have developed as a podcaster. When it comes to develop as a knitter, I must say, just check I had some notes with me so I don't forget. But when it comes to being developed as a knitter, I must say that this thing about the design process, this is what have developed me the most, the way of thinking. To be able to knit and the techniques, I don't think that I have developed that much during the last months. Most of it I already have, but thinking in a design that actually is answering to requirements and for a specific situation. I think that is what has developed me the most, and also given me, it's actually really kickstarted my knitting mojo again. I feel like now I have a much clearer purpose with my knitting, and I'm really looking forward to make more collections. I have at least 2 collections already up here thinking about, and I'm really eager to start them, but I have to finish my Vandring collection as well. But I think that is what has developed me the most, and also that I feel a calmness that I can stick to what I like the most. I use those skills that I have to make this. But I want also to say that for me to be able to come to this position, I have been doing this kind of knitting without focus, that I just cast on different projects. It doesn't mean that they are the right for me. It doesn't mean that I finish them, but I learn. And learning is so important when it comes to knitting. It doesn't always have to be about the finished garment. For me, it's the journey. It's a lot about the journey, the process and that means that I don't have to finish garments as long as I learn something from them. I can learn things that I want to use again, and I can learn things that I feel like, okay, this is not the right for me, but I have learned something. And it means that I have been in that phase where I have been testing and experimenting, and now I feel that I have achieved another phase where I really want to use what I have, and the testing and experimenting is more on a conceptual level when it comes to putting a lot of garment together to fill those requirements that the situation I'm going to use the garments are in. So, that is what I feel is how I have developed. I'm walking here in a forest, following some paths. I'm not really sure where I am, and it's starting to get dark. And now it's time to look into the future. And the future is unknown. A little bit like my situation here. Will I find my way home before it gets dark or not? We will see. But if I should reflect a little bit on the future and what I'm going to do when it comes to knitting and podcasting in the future. And I don't know. What I do know is that I will probably take a break, or I will take a break for a couple of months, for 6 months, something like that, and to think and to focus on myself, to knit just as much or as little as I want to do, and focus on all the things that I have learned from this podcasting or this on creativity episodes. And I'm looking forward to that, because then I can focus my time on myself. But after that, I may publish some new recipes. I have some designs that I think that I can be able to make a video recipe on, that I think that I can explain in a good way, and that the things that these kind of blank canvases that I think that everybody should have, like a basic construction. But I don't know. I will see if I would do that, if I want to make that effort. Will I podcast again? Will I start a new kind of theme podcasting next year? I don't think so. I cannot promise, but I don't think that I will do these kind of podcasts again. Not the ordinary kind of diary podcasting, and not these kind of theme podcasting. And that's because I've done that now. I need to have something else to feel that I am developing. I think that if I should come back into this kind of media, I think I will go back to my roots a little bit more. And I started making a blog. That blog was about running, biking, swimming, hiking, outdoor activities. And I think that I want to go back to that, to express myself in text and pictures. A little bit because I feel that the feed of social media, it's just have become a little bit too much. There's a constant feed, and you only feel like, and I can feel that myself, that I can only give each entry or each post just a few seconds before I feel like I want to go to the next one and next one. And I wonder what that does to our brains, that we are so into the feed that we cannot give each other that time to actually read and reflect and interact and understand. We just browse to the next one and next one. And I see that when people are writing texts on a post on Instagram, for example, not many people read it. They just want to look at the picture and then go to the next one. And the same a little bit with YouTube. And I also feel like there's so much advertising that are also part of the feed and that is interrupting the message. So I feel that I want to do something else. I want to slow down a little bit. And I know that many of you, when I say that, okay, I want to go back to text and pictures, say like, no, don't do that because I cannot read while I'm knitting. But I think that we need to find new ways. And I think that I would like to go back to writing, because then I can sit and put so much more thought into the sentences that it will be much more quality than when I'm just standing here talking. Even if I have some notes what to talk about, it's still just improvising what I'm saying. I don't have a manuscript. I have just a thought that I'm trying to express. So I think that, so if I choose to come back, it will probably be in some kind of text and picture way. Before I close this episode today and try to find my way home, I just want to share a message, or give you a message, or send a message. When I was up in the mountains, or in the northern part of Sweden this summer, hiking, I took a picture when I got some cell phone coverage and posted it. And it was a picture when I was sitting by a lake. I had my boots and it was a beautiful sunset. And I got a lot of comments about, oh, how nice, how cozy. And yeah, the picture gives that impression. But at the same time, it felt a little bit, how can I explain it? I felt a little bit offended because I have walked for several days. It had been really, really hot. I had also had a lot of rain. So I have kind of suffered, or it has been like hard work. Tears and blood and sweat to get to that point. And by just saying like, oh, how cozy, then they don't understand the journey to get there, what has been all the work behind taking that picture. And I think it's the same when it comes to knitting. Because when people just see the finished garment and they say like, oh, what a nice sweater, or what a nice mitten or something, they don't understand all the work that is behind it. All the tears and frustration and all the different decisions that you have to make just to get there, just to reach that point where you actually can bind off, sew in the last end and have a finished garment. And I think that what we need to be better on, it is to actually compliment each other, to give each other feedback, nice feedback, not only on the finished project, but also on the journey to get there. Because you are knitters that are watching this, at least most of you are, you know that not all projects becomes a finished garment. Some are just a journey that doesn't end, or doesn't end well, or end in new knowledge instead. So my message from this episode, it is to, don't only say what a nice sweater, but also give nice feedback on the journey to actually get to that point when you have the sweater. So, I think that is all for now. I don't know if you can see me. It's getting dark. But I think I know how to continue walking from here. I want to say thank you for following me on this journey. On creativity, in the intro on each episode, I talk about the concept, what I see. I got a light. What I see is creativity, and that is 3 parts. It has to do with inspiration, knowledge, and courage. And those episodes that I have made so far, they have been focusing on at least one of those 3 elements in the creativity. And I hope that you will continue to explore those elements and challenge yourself in those elements and just improve and develop yourself. And for the last thing in this episode, I will give you a little Christmas gift. One of you asked if I could explain how I start my sweaters. Not this one, but many sweaters I start with an I-cord and then pick up stitches and start knitting. So my Christmas gift for you, and that is also a part of knowledge, improving your knowledge element, that is a little video here where I show you how I do the setup for a sweater using an I-cord. So from me here out in the woods to all of you, I wish you a Merry Christmas. See you later.